Hi there, welcome to Leading Conversations with Dr. Penny Stewart from PETRA Data Science, CEO and founder of PETRA Data Science. We're looking forward to a conversation today to unpack a little bit about PETRA Data Science and a little bit about Penny and your background. Let's start with what your PhD is in. That might be a nice way to frame kind of the conversation today, Penny, if we could.
Yeah, I certainly can talk about that. Look, my PhD was a bit uncool at the time I did it.
Right.
It was, I was right into the data and statistics at a time when the cool thing to do if you're a mining engineer doing a PhD was numerical modelling, which was all about the physics-based models.
Yep.
And at the time, though, I recognised some limitations of physics-based models, and so I wanted to do more with the data.
Yep.
And I started studying a lot more statistics, which is specifically around building models for individual sites rather than the idea of having generic models that apply everywhere because of the limitations of the accuracy. And basically that then showed that these site-specific models were more accurate.
Right. Okay. So it's kind of, was your initial, obviously you were good at maths at school?
I liked maths.
Like maths?
Yes.
So it's sort of data and modelling and financial modelling and the mathematics, and that then on the back of that brought you to the mining industry, or was it kind of the two came together at once?
Oh, right.
Talk about that journey, yeah.
Actually, I started my career in mining engineering. So my undergraduate degree was mining engineering at the University of Queensland.
Right.
And I probably had more exposure to mining even as a kid because my dad's a mining engineer and my grandfather was a mining engineer. So, yes, there's that long.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I've been a member of the AusIMM since 1992, which shows how old I am.
Wow. I'm doing the maths on that.
Yeah,
I'm good at.
Yeah, that was as an undergraduate. I joined as an undergrad, not a postgrad.
And I didn't realise until we had a chat before today that you are from Kalgoorlie originally, Kalgoorlie Boulder. So tell us a bit about kind of your childhood upbringing. So you were born in Kalgoorlie?
Yeah, I was born in Kalgoorlie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
so mining family.
Mining family. And then we moved to Mount Isa in Queensland.
Okay.
And I started school in Mount Isa.
Like you and your family? Like
with
family
with mum and dad and the kids. So we moved up there and lived in the Isa for a while. And so that's how I kind of got exposed to mining because it was always a part of the life when you live adjacent to mining. You get the vibrations from the mine and you ask what's that, and I remember visiting the mine with Dad on the weekends because that in those days you did you could go and I remember I wasn't obviously going down the shaft or anything, but just looking out over the pit and stuff.
Yeah, you just saw it in your everyday life, and so I'd imagine you kind of just fundamentally see the value in mining to communities, particularly regional communities. So Kalgoorlie and Isa,
Yes, I think particularly when I was growing up, there was a lot of families living in mining towns. Yeah, right. And that was really, really good sense of community and I know my parents still have those relationships with those friends they made back in, they're sort of formative.
Yes, 2 degrees
stages of your life. Shared experience.
Yeah. So then you went to university in did you say University of...
In Queensland,
University of Queensland?
Yeah.
And did you mining engineering?
Yeah.
Back in the day when we still did mining engineering at uni?
Yeah.
And then I know you've worked, for instance, I know you've worked at BHP in a couple of big mining houses. So did you work in mining and then go back and do the PhD?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I worked in mining for, I don't know, maybe 5 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I worked originally on a graduate program and then I moved around with that and ended up working in Kalgoorlie for a couple of years, including at the super pit and at the nickel mines south in Kambalda. So,
Wow.
Yes.
A lot of mining.
I did my underground time and did the first class mine manager's ticket. So all that. Wow. So I did sort of a very normal, traditional sort of mining engineering.
Right. And then so as a mature student, went back, did the PhD?
Yeah.
And then from there immediately launched PETRA Data Science, or is there a gap in between?
Yeah, there's a gap in between where I was working as a consult. I worked in consulting for a while.
Okay.
and in mining.
Yes.
I did a little bit of civil engineering geotech as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
which was really interesting because my PhD topic was related to geomechanics. So I ended up getting a bit of work in geotech and consulting as well.
Yep.
And then I went and worked as a lecturer for a couple of years and did research. It was like a joint.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, joint for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then after that, I worked for Newcrest for 2 years in the innovation group.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's all kind of, there's a few people that from that.
That's how I connected,
right, gotcha.
into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I started the company after after Newcrest.
Well, congratulations on what you've achieved with PETRA Data Science. Where'd the name come from, by the way? I know the answer to that, but I think
you
it's
do?
interesting.
Oh, okay. Well, Petra means rock, so that's part of the reason.
In Greek?
But a reason, in Greek.
Yeah,
that's right, yeah. But part of the reason that I probably haven't talked about before is I have 3 boys and I never had any girls, and I always thought if I had a girl, I would like to call her Petra. So that was sort of, So that was actually another reason.
Right.
So on top of the rock thing.
Okay. So you could have got a girl dog and called her Petra, or started a company called PETRA Data.
Something like that. So this is the girl baby, I guess.
Right.
Something.
I got 2 boys and had a female dog named her, and name I always would have called a girl. So many. So tell us just at a headline level what PETRA Data Science is all about.
Yeah. Look, the main reason that Petra exists is because as a mining engineer, I found it very difficult dealing with the uncertainty around the geology, and not from a grade and tons point of view. The geos have got that pretty well under control. Like the reconciliations and so forth on grade are really very good. But when it came to the engineering inputs to design and scheduling and geotech, there's a lot of uncertainty. You're talking huge amount. And so therefore you get all this training in engineering and applying principles and rules.
Based on assumptions.
And then you go to do it in the real world and you find out you've got very limited information.
I see.
So Petra's really been all about what can we learn from our operational data and then improve the knowledge that we have and improve the ore body knowledge that you have through learning. So that feedback loop. Right. So that's what we do. We basically.
So it's almost like optimizing kind of the like trying to manage the uncertainty of the ore body and then the uncertainty of the engineering application, but kind of the bridge in between to try to reduce that uncertainty.
That's
or manage that uncertainty.
By learning, by feeding back what actually happens in the operations, that machine learning feedback loop is what that's how we add. So what actually happens ends up being updated into the geology models.
Yeah, it's a point that probably for a lot of people listening to this conversation today, they kind of take for granted this kind of understanding of risk that intuitively sits in our industry.
Yes.
But from where I sit, having worked in a few different industries, this kind of marriage between risk and opportunity I find quite fascinating. Yeah. Is that kind of a part of what you're exploring through PETRA Data Science?
That's true.
Yeah.
And actually that's one of the things that when you really understand the opportunity of the geological variability, what you can discover is that you can combine different ore types and blend them to get a higher uplift. So there is genuine opportunity in this uncertainty. Yeah. If you can apply machine learning is very good at identifying those optimal combinations of ores. Yep. Whereas in the past we've tried to control for variability and controlling and keeping that consistency is it doesn't give you optimal.
I find it fascinating because I'm an engineer by qualification, and as an engineer, for instance, a structural engineer, you are conditioned to eliminate risk.
Yes.
But what's really unique, I feel, about our industry, the mining industry, is you really got this trade-off between risk and opportunity. In other words, you're never going to realise opportunity until you actually understand, identify and manage that risk. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. It's very different from other types of engineering in that we are dealing with a lot of uncertainty.
I get it. Now, part of the spiel of PETRA, the value proposition, I should say, of PETRA is their flagship digital twin value chain optimisation suite. And I had to read that a couple of times to understand it and still couldn't quite entirely get my head around it. Just explain that concept, look, if you could.
I think a lot of people in mining would have heard of mine-to-mill optimisation or pit-to-port optimisation.
Yeah, right.
Really, we're a software company that does that digital mind to meal or digital pit to port.
I see.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the simplest way of explaining what we do.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were, of course, an outstanding keynote speaker at our conference, APCOM, which is where we're joining, setting up this session today. APCOM is the Application of Computers and Operations Research in the Minerals Industry, an international council formed in 1966 from 4 universities in the USA, initially set up to look at digital transformation into the future.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to explain that's what APCOM's been all about. Did you know much about APCOM before you actually came to this conference here in Perth?
I had heard about it,
right.
And it's the first time I've attended, but that wasn't. It was because when I did hear about it, I decided I definitely wanted to attend because
Right.
now that we've moved, we're a software company. This is the conference for software development.
Gotcha.
And solutions in the mining industry.
Yeah, right. And formed by 4 very prestigious universities out of the States. I'll let others do their research on that, but we're delighted to be associated with it. Held every 4 years, every second year, every 2 years, every second year in the US, and then every alternate year outside the US. And we really feel very privileged to be able to host that in Perth this week. Your keynote presentation, Penny, for those that weren't able to be here, maybe give us the 2 or 3 headline points that you made through your presentation, and maybe we can unpack those together if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, look, the keynote was really about when you're deploying AI-powered solutions into mining, and you're talking to the people who are accountable for that and the accuracy and how it's going to work, that you use engineering terms and engineering language that people will, and case studies and standards, because if you use all of the hyperbole around and the marketing terms, then they sound cool, but they really don't don't answer the questions that people will have when you want to apply this in the real world.
Okay. So can we explore this concept of AI in our industry?
Yeah.
Where is our industry at from your perspective, globally?
Yep.
Our industry benchmarked to, say, other industries when it comes to the AI journey from your perspective?
I actually think that we have adopted it really quite quickly.
Right.
Yeah, even today at this conference, the number of applications, I've been going to a lot of the technical sessions to learn, and especially in geology, which I'm always learning more and more about. And I've been very impressed with the amount of adoption of AI into well-known, valuable problems that people need to solve. So AI in our industry is being pulled into existing sort of software solutions and used to solve those well-known problems, which I think is quite it's advanced. I do know other industries. I've got colleagues who work in other areas, and they are not. They tend to work in isolated sort of consulting silos, and they tend to use more the standard approaches. And it's like civil engineering, for example, tends to have a slower uptake of technology because they're operating more isolated sort of consulting practices.
So I'd assume, which is clearly a different perspective than what you've described, that awareness in our industry high, but adoption a long way to go. You see it a little bit differently than that.
I do actually, I do. I think that there are challenges with AI adoption, but there's a lot of case studies that don't get reported.
Right.
Because the real challenge is in that understanding of how to get the adoption, how to get the sustainability of the value generation. And so companies that are doing that well and have really good frameworks for adoption and are showing value over many years, that's actually, I think, some mining companies see that as proprietary.
Right.
So they don't want to come to a conference necessarily and share how they obtained those results. So I actually think there's a larger number of AI applications that are being used now. And when you speak to people one-on-one around the conference from all over the world, there's a lot of people using AI in their jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I haven't kind of thought of that perspective. I mean, we're at AusIMM massively passionate about collaboration, because that's how we see us growing industry value and driving innovation. So you're sort of confirming a view that I've long held that kind of there's some good stuff happening, but it's kind of happening still in silos within the companies.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we kind of break that way of thinking from your point of view, Penny?
I was thinking about that today because I have been hearing a lot from international.
Right.
There's a lot of companies from overseas here,
yes,
and they are sharing case studies in the way that we used to in Australia.
Right.
But I just think, I'm not quite sure why, but there has been a bit of a change in Australia. And this is not, like, we've got companies here from people here with case studies. Not countries, but case studies from Chile, some brilliant case studies from Indonesia that I saw yesterday. And they're going through the entire process of how they adopted it using Scrum in operations. There was one from Palmer yesterday, or a couple from Palmer yesterday. I saw it was super impressive, used very advanced AI, like very advanced.
Yes.
And yet, I think that you do learn a lot from that sort of case study. Yeah, I'm not sure how to break that in Australia, but we sort of got into a pattern of thinking that we have to keep it a bit proprietary. Proprietary
becomes a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, part of my view is that because we work in such a competitive industry, there's sort of a reluctance to sort of share that or contribute to the growth of the industry around AI, which I think is an imperative for us as an industry going forward, not just for the viability of those companies themselves. Yeah.
I think that it's going to happen anyway because there's so many people doing stuff like at this conference that you might think that you're doing the best in the world in your silo, but more than likely there's people doing it better somewhere else that you can learn from.
I love it.
I actually thought we were doing some of the things the best in the world, you think you are, and then you go to a conference like this and you see, oh wow, that's really cool. I really like what they've done there. It's amazing.
Well, we're a bit parochial, I guess, at AusIMM, but we see that as being a part of the value we bring, not just to our members, but to the industry as a whole, to drive that industry growth and drive that collaboration, because we think that as an industry, we're better and stronger when we all work together, and we think that's the way that we're going to see more innovation in our industry. And I think that AI is an absolute imperative going forward, as it is for so many industries. So changing. I wanted to sort of explore, my final kind of question is around a concept you've introduced, which is around how data science can help mining companies and our industry overall build public confidence and trust.
Interesting.
We have actually seen when we look at a recent CSIRO survey that I referenced in my introductory comments, public trust growing in our industry. Do you think there's a connection between that and the confidence that people have in what our industry is doing through the data that we present?
That's actually a very interesting question. I have seen that research too around I think maybe there's just so much more. Mining companies are getting better at communicating through social media, what they're doing, and people, it's not as guarded. There's a lot more public. I don't know if it's about the data, but I do think there's more openness, especially some of the mid-tier mining companies. When you look on their profiles, they're sharing a lot of information about people in their companies and what their people are doing. And that humanises the industry. So it no longer is about ships and rocks and trucks. It becomes, these are the people doing these cool things, and that's very relatable. I mean, that's just my guess. I'm not a sociologist, but that would be what I've seen.
Final question is maybe just to sort of wrap up our conversation today, is just a perspective on kind of where you see the future of our industry. I know you're an optimistic person. You're someone that's a massive supporter and student of our industry. Where you sort of see our industry at, and what you sort of see the future of our industry, where you see that future heading?
I think if we look globally, the industry has a lot of work, important work to do on a global scale around critical minerals and copper, and even in areas like preconditioning of the rock mass to reduce the energy required for comminution. And all of those opportunities and technical challenges are basically exciting for engineers and people involved in research and so forth. So I think that in Australia, we're also getting this opportunity to meet with all these people from other countries and through these events. And that's opening my mind up to the huge amount of work being done overseas as well.
Well, I think that kind of, this is, we feel, Australia's moment, to move onto that world stage and deliver those critical minerals world needs for the energy transition. So I think the work that you're personally doing is so critical to the future of our sector and our industry. A person our industry greatly respects. So thank you for your time today. So from all of us to Dr. Penny Stewart, all the very best. Thanks for your time and good luck for the future of PETRA Data Science. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.